never use because thinking about the sweaters because they're too big, too small. The sweater shrank in the wash and it's just, you just love it so much you can't throw it away. What can you do with it? So, and then things that we can replace stuff that we would normally throw away with things that we can use over and over again. So those were the two categories I kind of had, replacing throwaway things with reusable things, or reusing things that we might throw away or just let sit around and collect dust. So having said all, and then then there's a third project, the little wallets. They're kind of a way, I guess they're kind of a way of reusing. If you craft yourself, if you sew, you might have fabric scraps around, or again, clothing or other fabric items that for whatever reason you don't want to wear anymore, or they're no longer wearable. Children's clothes that are too small, adult clothes that have become stained or torn. I'm looking at a favorite shirt that's got bicycle grease all over it. So things like that are, that you love, you don't want to get rid of, but you can find a use for. So using up scraps, using things that you might throw away, and finding ways to replace things that we normally throw away. Okay, so the first thing is the mittens, which are my personal love. And these are made from old sweaters. And I don't know about you folks, but I have sweaters that have either gotten in the wash, or a sweater that had been my father's that my sister liberated from him. And then I liberated from her, and I wore it for many, many years, and it got a big hole in it. And a friend darned it, and she did an excellent job, but the colors didn't match. The green, it was a green sweater, and the greens didn't match. So I made mittens for another sister out of this sweater, and I made booties for a grandnephew out of the sweater. So this sweater had sentimental value, and then now it's a way of giving it new life, and other generations are enjoying it. So the sweaters are a lot of fun too, and I was going to show you some examples of what I've made with the sweaters. So this is a pair of mittens I made for another sister. I have 6 sisters. So if I keep talking about sisters, there's a lot of them. So this is a pair I made. And so they're made with old sweaters, as I mentioned, and they're lined with fleece. Now you can, if you go to Joann or places like that, they have a lot of remnants, and fleece is something they always have in the remnant pile, and you can get it pretty cheap. However, I was just going through my closet, and I came across an old fleece jacket with a broken zipper that has been hanging in my closet. I don't know how long. It's like, oh, there's a pair of mittens. So, rather than throw it away, or let it sit there in the closet for the next time I say, oh my goodness, there's that old jacket again, I can make something with it. So I have, I cut out some of the pieces to show you what they look like and how they go together, if that's something you're interested in. The other thing is the food wraps, and those come in 2 categories. And one is, we were talking a little bit at the beginning about food wraps and the plastics that I use. So I make 2 types. This is just a rectangle. Okay, and then I just wrap whatever, my sandwich, like like when you were kids and your sandwiches were wrapped in waxed paper, wrap it like that, and then I put a rubber band around it, and it's a little placemat when I open up my sandwich wrap, and I've got something to have my sandwich on. So these are fun, and you don't have to line it, but I like to, because I just think it looks pretty on the inside. So I cut out one of those to show you. So here's one side, and then this would be the inside. And this, I don't know if you can see, is more of a 1, 2, 3, is it an octagon? What I'll show you, there'll be some Velcro, so that when you fold it up to put your sandwich in it, there'll be Velcro on each side and you can close it up and have a cute little envelope for your sandwich. And once again, when you open it up, you've got a little placemat to put your food on. So these are fun, and you can use them, so many of us are working from home now, but you can wrap leftovers in them. I wrapped cheese in them, because cheese, apparently wrapping it up in really tight plastic isn't the greatest thing for some cheeses. Like, they need a little bit of air. So, and that's where the next type of wrap comes in handy. And these are a little more, they're a lot simpler. These are the, maybe you've seen them around, the beeswax. So if you look online, if you look on the YouTubes, there's a million tutorials on how to do it. One has you grating the beeswax. Oh my God, that's the hardest thing to do. So, and some of them have you bake, put it in an oven with the beeswax in a pan. The one that I like is melting the beeswax, and I have some up on the stove, I'll bring it down. Melting the beeswax in a pan, obviously an old pan that you probably don't want to use again, and dipping your fabric in the beeswax, and then letting it dry. And then what I do is I do that to one of them, or pardon me, two of them, and then I make a sandwich, and I iron it with parchment paper. I put parchment paper on each side, and I put a cloth down on my, like a towel or something that will absorb wax, and that's maybe something that isn't something you might want to use again. And I iron that, and it really spreads out the wax nicely, and they last a long, long time, and they smell so good. Beeswax, my house just melting the beeswax right now, the house smells really good. So this is really fun, and it's a when I first started doing it, I was like, oh my God, this is such a big mess. What am I doing? But it really wasn't bad at all. It was actually pretty simple. The ironing is what took a long, long time. And these are all ones that I made last spring. And I just decided that they needed to be re-waxed, if that makes sense. And they were, I thought that they had no wax left in them. And I found when I washed them, they washed perfectly with no problem. They didn't get wax on anything else. I threw them in with, towels and stuff. And then when I iron them, I can tell, you can't tell, but they have a stiffness to them. So there's still wax in them. So they last a really long time. And if you've ever seen these, the co-op sells them. And my mother said she saw them somewhere. I can't remember where. They're very expensive. So, again, it's leftover, if you have any fabric left over, and you can customize, I have a couple different sizes. You can customize the sizes you want. I made them in a circle. I don't know why. You could make them any shape you wanted. So these are fun too. So those are some of the projects I had in mind. And as I mentioned, the little placemat thing is upstairs. But if I can find the picture of it. I can find a picture of it on the famous YouTube. Come on. It's on my phone. Where's my phone? Too many electronic devices.
Claire, I have a quick question about
Go ahead.
Beeswax wraps.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone else does. Is there a special way to fold them or tie them, or
oh, excellent question. Thanks, Tina. So when you fold them, they're a little bit sticky and they'll stay closed. And then when they stop, that's when you kind of know, okay, maybe it's time to re-wax them when they don't stick together too much anymore. But they really, you could put a rubber band around them if you wanted to, but I found that you really did, they stayed that way for, like I said, I made them in the spring and they seem to be going strong still. So I was really pleased with that. But yeah, so just like the other ones, you can definitely put a rubber band around them. Let me get this.
Or you could put a ribbon around them.
Or a ribbon would be really nice. Yeah. If you've got ribbons. So I'm sending that, but then the next project is these little wallets. And I'm so obsessed with these right now. I've made about 40 of them. And, my son and I use a woman's space once a week so he can visit his children, and she charges us to use her space. It's a like a yoga studio. And so when I paid her in one of these little wallets. So, I sent them to my sister as a thank you note. And so I just have a great time with them. So they're very simple. They're just 4 rectangles of fabric. And this one I made using the pocket of an old flannel shirt. So you've got an extra little pocket on the outside. So that was fun. And so you just, and then you make 2 little pockets inside. These are really easy to make. You can make them in just a few minutes, and you can have a lot of fun with them with the fabric. I just love this fabric. And so these are all the same fabric, or you can do them with, I love this one too. I don't know how well this is seahorses and underwater scene. And then on the inside, I use like a nighttime kind of thing. So you can mix and match or make them all the same. So it's just they're the dimensions are 5 inches by 6 inches. And these are just folded in half. But the later ones I made the inside pocket a little bit, let's see if I can see one like that. So these go right to the middle, if you can see that. So I made them a little, not quite so big, as if that makes sense. So you can play with it. You could even do one side a little smaller, the other side bigger, however you wanted to do it. And I think these would make a lot of fun as gifts, or if you're giving money or gift cards, they could be a fun holder for that. So everybody loves money and gift cards, but as the recipient, but as a giver, we feel like, maybe. So this personalizes a little bit and makes it a little fun. And you can, if you have scraps of fabric around, whether it's old clothing or if you sew and you have fabric that is left over, it makes a nice way to use up pretty things that you love. I just love these seahorses. I just think they're the cutest things. So that's those, and they're fun and they're easy. And actually we could, if you have this stuff, we could probably make them together tonight. And where I want to show you the placemats. Let's see if it came through. Yes. Okay, here we go. No. Yes. So this is the pattern I use. This isn't the one I made. This is the website that I found. So as you can see, I'm pretty sure that's a paper napkin in there, but I was able to, using the same dimensions, I was able to sew it so that I could roll up a cloth napkin and put it in, and then use regular utensils and then roll it up. So if you give me 2 seconds, I'll run upstairs and get it. I was hoping Bert would come down and I could ask him to get it for me. Just 1 second.
So I think what she's going to do, she's sort of introducing all of the different projects. She's going to ask us to pick one, and then she's going to take us through it step by step. Do people on the call who have a sense of which one they'd like to see actually, do in front of us?
I think those wallets are really cool. They're all really cool. I'd be good with any of them, but
that might be the simplest. I don't know if she did say she has beeswax upstairs on the stove.
That's the one I'm partial to. I have beeswrap at home, and they're starting to lose. I've used them, and they're starting to lose their luster, and so I like the idea of making them happy
Refurbishing
again.
them?
Refurbishing them.
Yeah, you're gonna be happy how easy it is to do it.
Yeah.
So, well, this is the picnic one that I made. So you can see I have a cloth napkin and real silverware. And then just using some, fabric I had around. And again, you got your little placemat. And, you can, I thought these would make fun Christmas gifts too, and encourage people to bring their own silverware when they go, someday we'll be able to go to potlucks and picnics again. And, when your host says, we're having a potluck, you can say, hey, why don't you encourage everybody to bring their own silverware? And this is one way that you could do that. And so they're a little bit bulky, but you can play with it. I think that after I made it, I used the dimensions that were suggested in the original, but I think I would make it probably the same length, but not quite as wide, would be my, maybe more like that. So, but again, you can play with it and do anything you want. So I heard somebody's interested in doing the wax.
Yeah, we got one vote for beeswax
Okay.
wraps. We got one vote for wallets. I don't know if you have time. Do you think you have time for two to show us two?
Yeah, because I've got the, let's do the beeswax first because that's on the stove and it's already nice and hot. So let me show you first. This is, it's a little mucky now. This was the big block of beeswax that I bought, and they sell it in the co-op, and you don't have to buy one this big. They have them in different sizes. And I was thinking today, I wonder if you can use beeswax candles. And so I meant to Google that and I didn't get around to doing that. So that's something maybe we could, if you're interested in I don't know about you, but I do have several beeswax candles kicking around the house. So if you didn't want to go out and buy, or, if you, I forget how much this was, and they did have smaller blocks of it, but they do have pure beeswax at the co-op. And then the other ingredient is a jojoba oil, which is, most of the tutorials that I've looked at, nobody bothers with that, but some of them do. So I throw a few drops in it. I don't know what, I think what it does is makes it a little, a little less sticky, but you want it to be a little bit sticky. And then some people put pine resin in it. And I couldn't find a local source for pine resin. And so I never did that, but they seem to be fine. So those are the three ingredients that that you'll see on various tutorials. The obviously the beeswax, the jojoba oil. Am I saying that right? Jojoba, Jojoba, and the pine resin. So those are the three ingredients. And so I left my actually, why don't we go up to the kitchen? That would probably be the easiest way to do that. Let's go up to my kitchen.
So we get a tour of her house. And
Yeah. The less cluttered parts of my house. This is where we are, is the most cluttered part. So here we are in the kitchen. And I have on the stove an old camp pot is what I chose to use for the beeswax. And it's nice and melted. Let me see if I can show you how it looks. And I put the this is, and I bought this at the co-op also. And you can see it in there, all melted. So basically you want to have some tongs or a couple chopsticks or whatever you like to use. I use tongs. And we'll take my, what I do is I trace a plate. I like them round, but again, there's no reason why you couldn't do it square, octagon, any shape you wanted, but I for some reason I like the round ones. And then I use pinking shears to cut it. And believe it or not, the wax keeps it from fraying. You don't have to finish the edges. The pinking shears are enough. However, when I washed it, they frayed a little bit. So I just retrim them so that, because I didn't want them to look unsightly for you guys. So I did trim them. So I guess if I keep doing that, eventually I'll trim them, they'll be down to nothing. So then you just stick them right in your pot of beeswax. And you can do this with the ones that you bought also, Emily. And believe it or not, they stop dripping. Can you see? Oh, you can't see anything. Can you see it dripping? So they're dripping, they'll stop dripping and they'll dry really fast. And what I do is I'll put it on my drying rack for a few minutes before I iron it, just to make sure all the drips are gone. So this fabric was a lot of fun because it's got little, it's almost kind of Christmassy, and it became kind of translucent, and it looked really pretty when it was with the amber of the beeswax. So that's one. I think I'll just do the one, because then, as I said, what I do is I'll iron it as a sandwich with another piece of fabric, and the beeswax will transfer to the other one from the heat of the iron. So now, if you've got the more I think about it, I like the melting method, but if you want to try the grating method, probably if you make sure that your wax is room temperature, kind of soft, it'll grate much more easily. And what people do is they grate the beeswax an even coating on the cloth, and then make a sandwich with the parchment paper and iron it, and then it permeates into the cloth. So there's, and then I mentioned that some people put it in the oven and let the beeswax melt into the cloth in the oven. So that's another way that you can do it. So then, let me grab see how many I can get out of this one. You get, I know that was a huge chunk of beeswax, and I've made several, I think I made like 10 of these, and I've hardly made a dent in that chunk of beeswax. So you don't need a lot of beeswax. Also, these are really fun as, like if you're giving gifts, like if you bake, if you make cakes or things like that, and you can wrap cookies in them, maybe put a ribbon or twine or something around it. They because they're nice and stiff, they really make a nice wrap for food. And I did that. I gave one to my mother and my sister during the pandemic when we couldn't be with each other. And I left some food. I can't remember what the food was that I gave them. I just remember wrapping it in the beeswax wrap. And I thought, oh, this looks really nice. So that's a nice thing that you can do. So I feel like I'm giving I'm a big commercial for the co-op, but I buy the parchment paper at the co-op too. So everything's at the co-op. So what I'm doing here, you can hear the rustle, is putting the parchment paper around the beeswax, and I'll show you that. So I don't know if you can see that. Oh, there's no light on it. Let's make a little more light. Can you see so is that, can you see anything?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I just made a little sandwich. And my iron's on, yay.
So you've got the parchment paper on the top and the bottom. Fold it
That's
over
exactly right. I pull out a big piece and fold it. So, you can make, so you can do 2 pieces. And actually, this piece I've used many, many times for things already. With my grandchildren, we baked salt and flour dough cookies. Do you ever do that? And cut them out and made ornaments, cookie dough ornaments, cookie cutter ornaments is what I want to say. So we use the parchment paper for this part. So this parchment paper has been around the block. It's had a lot of use. So then, that's all there is really to it. It's, it seems kind of, oh my goodness, this is going to be so hard, but it's really not. Boy, there's a lot of wax on this one. So I could probably get 3 or 4 more out of this one. Here we go. Now the iron's nice and hot. So what I did was I moved the little one that's in the middle of the sandwich. I'll show you. You can see there's still a lot of wax on it. So what I'm trying to do is, can you tell how dark that is in that corner? So I'm trying to get it transferred to the other pieces of fabric that don't have so much wax on it. And then that way, I'll have 3 all done by just dipping 1 into the hot wax. So that's really all there is to it. It's pretty simple. And I know, Emily, because you want to revive yours, you know how nice they are as food wraps. They really, I like them for cheese. What do you wrap in yours?
I love mine. I use them for anything.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I use them to cover containers that don't have tops. I carry all my food in it to go to work.
Nice. Did you make yours originally, or did you
No,
buy
I
them?
bought. They were bought.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
the beeswrap company that's from Middlebury, Vermont.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I think it's wise that you are choosing to make yours in circles, because the right angles start to fray. It's like kind of the weak, it's like a weak point
Interesting.
in the
Okay.
design. So I think the circle method is a good innovation.
And when you put them on top of containers, do you use a rubber band or anything, or do they pretty much hold?
No, I just snack it down. They're
Oh,
good.
okay. So I
They're
have
better than others.
That's where I think the pine resin would be is what
Like
is kind of missing.
An adherent in a
Yeah.
way. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if you can I don't know if you can tell, but there's a lot now. It's a lot less dark. It's getting more to look like the way I want it to look. So then I'll just let them dry, and tomorrow I'll have some nice fresh beeswax wraps. I wish you guys were here with me, but I can already feel it getting stiff. That if you've handled any of them, they just had this really nice, I don't know how to describe it, like a stiff quality to them, where they're just a really neat thing. The first time I saw them, I said, oh man, I want those. And then I started reading up on it. I said, oh, I can make those. So I don't know if you can tell that this has already gotten, is it where a little less like fabric and more like this. Actually, there might even be more. I could probably iron some more out onto a fresh piece of fabric. So these, and then the other 2 are nice and revived as well. This fabric I bought, ooh, sorry about that. The smoke detector works. We're okay.
Good.
That's happened before when I've done this. I forgot about that. So any questions about that?
I have a question. Oh,
Go ahead.
could you just talk again about then how you care for them, so like after each use and everything?
Yeah, we didn't talk about that at all. That's a great question. So what I do, you can take a damp cloth and drop it on the floor and brush any food scraps off it, which is what I do. You could run it under cool water real quick.
Okay.
You don't want it to get too wet, and you don't want to use hot water because that'll melt the wax. But as I mentioned, when I was ready to wash them, I just threw them in the washing machine because it seemed like a lot of the wax was gone. And then, so these are, I'm rejuvenating these or revitalizing these right now. So I've never used any real messy food with them, like peanut butter and jelly or something like that. Mm-hmm. Emily, have you gotten like anything really messy on yours?
Yeah, I've gotten like mustard and mayonnaise on it.
So
And-
would you just take a damp cloth and wipe it off?
Yeah, I'll take like a sponge that is more sponge rather than like scoring. I'm just
Okay,
very,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just like dainty. I have to be really like dainty with it, or else you start to like wear away
Yeah,
and those areas become weakened.
yeah.
I mean, and then it's like, that's part of life though. So
Yeah. And then, and the beauty is that you can bring it back to life again. You can
Exactly.
revitalize it. So does that answer
Cool.
your question, Megan?
Yes, it does. Thank
Okay,
you.
good.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that, yeah, you can definitely clean them. My one person was like, "Oh my God, how do you wash them?" It's like, well, you don't really wash them. So for some people, it might be a little bit of a what's the phrase? Not a game changer. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't know. I don't like things that I can't wash. You know, I want to be able to wash it. So, but I mean, I don't know if there's anything about beeswax that's kills germs, but I've never gotten sick. I don't think Emily has either. So I think they're pretty safe to use that way. So yeah, so that's any other questions or comments?
Oh, what temperature did you wash them in when you washed them?
Oh, I wash everything in cold water.
Okay.
So it would have been cold water. Yeah. And that's a good question. I imagine if you wash it in hot water, that's probably why I didn't get any wax on any other things, because it was cold water. And I probably could have just washed it by hand, but
It's just a top load or a front load?
I have a
wash?
front loader, so there's no agitator. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another good point. I imagine the agitator might affect, but you know, when my intention to wash it was to get any of food that might still be on it off, so I could put fresh wax on it. So I don't think it would matter what type of washing machine you used. Get it clean. Other comments or questions?
About the beeswax that you bought in co-op, did you buy the whole rectangle?
That block, yes, I did. Where'd it go? I guess I brought it upstairs. Oh, I
So
didn't. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So, yeah, this is the they're over in the wellness section by the candles and stuff. They're usually they're like towards the bottom shelf. You got to look
are
around
they
for them.
by weight, or you just bought a piece?
It's a block. They're all the same price, but they have smaller blocks. I think the day I went to get it, this is all they had. So, and in retrospect, I think, you know, a third of this or a quarter of this would have been more than enough. But if you have a couple people go in on it and you all want to make some, but
So and then did you put the whole black?
so what I did was tonight I was busy doing other things, so I left it in the pan, so that's why it's a little misshapen. But the other times when I did it, I watched it and I kind of just melted as much as I wanted and then took it out, which
Okay.
so it was looking a lot nicer earlier tonight. Poor little block of beeswax.
So
But yeah,
that-
so yeah, just hang on to it and melt it on the stove. And you could also, if you're going to do a lot of them, I don't know if you want to turn it into a cottage industry, you could melt it in a crock pot, or so, you know, if you have something like that you're not using anymore for whatever reason, you could do that. So years ago,
Coffee cans.
go ahead, Tina.
Big coffee cans or like the big, tomato sauce cans, like the big ones, the industrial ones are great.
Oh,
for
and use it like a double boiler. That's a great idea. Yeah, and then you could store it in there as well. Yeah, that's a really nice idea.
That's probably safer because of the flammability of it.
Yes. Well, Carol, that's what I was about to talk about. Years ago, there was, though people who know me, I'm a avid cyclist as well. And my whole family is cyclists, and my father was a very avid cyclist. And there was somebody who swore by beeswax as a lubricant for your chain. So my father's like, whoa, we got to do this. So now my father was a doctor, so he's a smart man. So he puts the beeswax in a pan on the stove, turns it up high, and watches the thing. Then my father, the doctor, picks up the pan and goes running out of the house. And this flame is he burned his hands so bad. Well, he never, ever used that wax on his on his bicycle chain. The whole thing got tossed out. So when I came home with this beeswax, my husband's like, don't you remember what your father did? I said, I think I can handle this. I have learned. So yeah, it's definitely flammable. So you want to keep it on a very low heat. And that's why a crock pot or something like that, or a double boiler, anything that would keep the heat slow and low.
Well, if you heat it in some water, you're not going to get above the boiling point of the
Right.
water.
Yeah,
If
so
you heat it directly, you can get it too hot and it could ignite.
yeah, the double boiler is definitely the best bet, or a crock pot if if you have one that you can sacrifice. But we don't all have that. But I just kept it in the pan I showed you on the lowest flame, and that worked out nicely. And don't tell my mother that I walked away from it. She wasn't home when my father was setting the house on fire. So any other comments about it? So yeah, Anna, you can definitely get this at the co-op. And they have had, if they don't have the smaller size, they can definitely order it for you.
I bought the a little one, but it felt like
Yeah.
too little, and I didn't know how much as I'm supposed to use.
Yeah, that's plenty. A little one like that would be plenty. And if you look at any of the tutorials on YouTube, you'll see the people using those little ones. They're very cute. They have like a little bee melted, melted into the top. They look very pretty.
Mhm.
And that's what they were using to grate. And you could certainly melt that as well. So yeah, you definitely don't need as much as I bought. But it doesn't go bad, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I can put some on my bicycle chain and honor my father. He'd like that.
So we should probably move on to the wallet because
Okay.
it's 7:14 now. So it gives you about
Okay.
15 minutes for the wallet.
So, let's see where I'll put these.
Can I throw out an idea?
What's that?
For years, I have been accumulating from garage sales little zippered containers for gifting. And I've got quite a collection of them. And I think my grandkids get a kick out of they just unzip it and take the gift out and give me the container.
Oh, what a great idea.
They've got, the garage sales, of course, you can't do that now, but there's tremendous amount of those out there that need to be reused.
Oh, for sure. When you say zipper containers, do you mean like change purses?
Oh,
or
for anything, cosmetic bags. There are all kinds of things are out there with zippers on them.
Oh, that's
At
fun.
thrift shops and garage sales. And there's, you keep them out of the dump, keep them out of the landfill.
Yeah, it's
They're great for all sizes of gifts.
Oh, I agree 100%. And the Tina was talking about zero waste.
Purses, I got this big gold purse, and they love getting that gold purse.
So it's the same wrapping, but a different gift.
Right. And
that's fun.
They've seen some of these things over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they haven't caught on, the parents, to doing it, but
Well. Yeah, it's Christmas the 26th when you're out and you see those trash barrels.
Yeah, I also make these rectangular bags, and I just put a ribbon in the side, and I've given those away for about 15-20 years at the church for whatever
to use as gift wrap.
Yeah, promoted them as gift wrap bags.
That's a great idea, and people always give those back to me.
Well, yeah. Well, I suggest that people put a bunch of them in one bag and then use that as a gift and explain to people this is to help the environment.
Oh, very nice. That's a really great idea. My trademark wrapping paper is old maps.
Oh, yeah. That's
good. So we all have lots of, I should say we all do. We have lots of old maps here because my husband was a geographer and a planner, and we just love maps. And we still have a subscription to the National Geographic, and those maps are absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, cool.
But after a while, you know, what are you going to do with it? They make great wrapping paper. The Sunday Funnies are some of the best wrapping paper, and paper bags, of course, are always great. And you know, you can decorate them any way you want, or they look nice with a little twine or ribbon on them too. And then if you read, I don't know if anybody reads the New York Times. The Sunday New York Times lately has the section of activities. So this is one my mother sent me back in May, how to make a printer's hat out of your newspaper. So they're every couple weeks they have an activity in the New York Times, the Sunday New York Times, for something you can do with your newspaper instead of throwing it away. So I worked for many years as a printer. So my mother was so excited when she saw the printer's hat. She said, "You need this hat." So she gave me that. And then yesterday, she was so excited because the topic was upcycle your newspaper to top a gift. So using your newspaper to make bows. So that was in yesterday. If you have yesterday's New York Times still, or you know anybody who subscribes to it, that was the activity. So they don't do it every week, but you know, every few weeks they have something that you can make. And of course, let's see what this one was. Oh, we were making the hats. That's what that one was. And then they also have a children's section now that makes nice wrapping paper. And of course, our favorite, the Sunday Funnies, makes great wrapping paper. My husband and I still get the daily paper. I know that's not the most environmental thing to do, but we like our newspaper. And the daily funnies are in color now. I don't know if you knew that, but so every day the newspaper comes with wrapping paper. So, and you know, it's pretty, it's fun, and people get a kick out of it. And it's reusing rather than throwing something away or buying something that you're just going to throw away. So those are some fun gift wrapped ideas. And as Carol said, old fabric they have kicking around. You can either just wrap, you don't even have to sew it up, right, Carol? You can just use the fabric as wrapping paper. And I've done that many times. Some really beautiful fabric I got from Etsy is old sari fabric. And it's just so beautiful. And I made masks out of it. I lined it, of course, with cotton, and it just makes the lightest, most comfortable masks. And it's so pretty. And I've been wrapping gifts in it. That's how pretty it is. So, so that's not, you know, I had to buy it. It's not something that I had around, but I found lots and lots of uses for it. And they're old saris. And then the woman that I bought it from had already used the bulk of the sari, and then she was selling her remnants. So it's kind of, I don't know if you know the story about the tailor who has an old coat, and he loves his coat so much he can't part with it, so he makes a jacket. And then when the jacket wears out, he makes a vest. And when the vest wears out, he makes a cap. And when the cap wears out, he makes a cover for a button. And when the button wears out, he makes a story. So, so that's how I felt about this sari material. Some woman wore these beautiful saris and sold the fabric when she didn't want it anymore. And the woman who bought the sari, I don't know what she made from it, but I bought these beautiful pieces, and I've been making things. I've been making doll clothes. I've been making masks. I've been making wrapping, gift wrapping out of it. So that's, and then maybe I'll tell a story about it someday too. So that's, that's using, use it up. Okay. So now the other thing I'm obsessed with is Goodwill. Anybody obsessed with Goodwill? So Tina, Tuesday is senior day at Goodwill. I don't know if you're a senior yet, but I am. And
I might be.
On senior day, you know, they have the different colors and of things that are cheap. Jeans certain pairs of jeans on senior day are $1. And oh my goodness, the things you can make out of old jeans, right? So here's a piece of old denim that I'm going to make into one of the little wallets. So as I mentioned, so things that I make a lot, I'll make a little, I mean, Claire, you can't cut something that's 5 inches by 6 inches, you need a pattern. But what I like about having a little pattern is when I have the fabric in front of me, I can place the little, where do I want to cut it? What part of the fabric is pretty to me? Or do I have enough of this piece of fabric? And I can do it really quickly with my little cloth pattern that I can grab quickly. So that's my little pattern. So I cut one square, or one rectangle. There's somebody here who knows the difference between a square and a rectangle. Oh, she's gone. Claire, that's not a square, it's a rectangle. So it's 5 inches by 6 inches. And then 2 more, I use this. You'll see a lot of the fabric repeated. I find fabric that I like and I just keep reusing it. So there are 2 more that were 5 by 6, but I cut them down a little bit. I mentioned that you can make these, the inner part of the wallet so that it goes all the way to the center, or this is going to have a little gap in it, okay? And then I have a 4th piece, okay? And I put those all together in a little sandwich, okay? So there's, oh, sorry, there's the denim, there's the pocket pieces, and then the inside. And then what I'll do is make that nice and neat. You can pin them if you want, or, however you like to do it. I usually don't pin, but some people like to. And then when you're going to stitch around and leave, I leave the opening down here, okay? And maybe about, 2 inches, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, depending on how thick the fabric is. If it's really heavy fabric, you want a wider opening. If it's lighter fabric, you can get away with a smaller opening so that you can turn it. Then once you turn it, you're going to top stitch all the way around, okay? And make your little wallet. And then I think I showed you how they look when they're done. So, and you can choose top stitching that is kind of invisible. I used red on this one. I think or you can do something that's complementary if you wanted it to show up. You could zigzag it. I think I have some that I zigzagged. And then there's your little wallet. So it's just 4 pieces of fabric that are, and I can, oh, I'm sorry. I should have had the link to the woman who did the tutorial. She did a really nice job, but it's fairly simple. It's just 4 pieces of fabric, 5 inches by 6 inches. And 2 of the pieces you're going to fold, right? And then those folded pieces, you match the cut edge to the edge of the outside piece, and the folded edge is going to be your inside, right? You could top stitch that too if you wanted to. I never have, but you could do that. And then you make your sandwich and stitch around, turn it and top stitch it, and then press it all down so it'll look nice. And that's all you do. But these I had a lot of fun with. I don't know if you can see the craziness of these. So I made a quilt for my granddaughter out of something called jelly. Are you familiar with jelly rolls? Anybody who sews? Jelly rolls are rolls of fabric that are 2 inches, 2.5 inches wide, and usually 40 inches long. And then you cut them up. You don't have to, but for this pattern, you cut them up to make kind of a crazy strip. And then I made for her a quilt that looks like a rainbow. It's basically what I did. But I had these strips left over. And that's, I stitched them together and then cut out the 4 inch, or pardon me, 5 inch by 6 inch rectangles and then made the little wallets out of that. And I was so delighted with the way these came out, and I was cranking them out and giving them away. And then I said, oh my goodness, I'm not done with the quilt yet. I need that for the binding around the edges. So it's like, what was I thinking? So hopefully I'll have enough when I'm ready to do that. But I did make some nice wallets in the meantime. So that's, and so like I said, you can use anything. And I showed you my little pocket that I'm so thrilled with. I just, the only, it was just so much fun to make that little pocket one. I just was delighted the way it came out. So that's an old, as I mentioned, an old flannel shirt that had a pocket on it. So those are the wallets. Anything else you want to see? Nobody wants to make mittens?
Any questions maybe, just to?
Those were beautiful mittens.
Oh, the mittens are great. They're, I have a couple pairs here. These are fun. This part here, I'll show you different. This part here was a sweater, but this part was a sock, believe it or not. So that was kind of fun. And then the lining is fleece. So this is kind of a child size, a little small for me. But this is also kind of small. And this was also a sock. I went through my drawer and I said, I'm not going to ever wear those socks again. I'm going to make some mittens out of them. So that's what I did. So yeah, the mittens are a lot of fun. And if anybody's interested, I haven't been able to find a pattern for the pieces online that I like, as well as the ones, the pattern that was given to me when I first learned how to make them years ago. A woman at the Thatcher Nature Center. Does anybody ever go up to the Thatcher Nature Center on Thompson's Lake? Have you ever been up there? Mm-hmm. Carol's been up there. So they have, every once in a while, they'll have well, in the before times, they would have a art painting, or make a birdhouse, or, different things that you could, wreath making, they've had basket weaving. So one time they were doing this mitten workshop. So I went and I was just so obsessed with, like I get obsessed with anything. I made 100 pairs of mittens because who wouldn't, right? So I've had a lot of fun with it. And I fortunately saved the original pattern, and I've looked and looked and looked, and I haven't been able to find another pattern. So I just keep photocopying this one pattern, and I've made out of paper bags, so it's nice and sturdy, and I can use it over and over and over again. And I'd be thrilled to, if anybody's interested, to do a mitten workshop, if that's something you'd like to do. And I would be happy to send you the pattern, photocopies of the pattern pieces as well. So that's, so they're, the sweaters that I use are, at the beginning of the pandemic, people were looking for things to do. And one of the things I know a lot of people did was organize their closets, or Megan's nodding her head. So I put out on Facebook, I said, hey, if you're cleaning your closet, you find some old sweaters, I might have a use for them, and I'll even make you a pair of mittens. So several people took me up on it. So that was kind of fun. And you can usually get a, depending upon how you mix and match the wool, in the sweater, you can get a couple pairs of mittens out of one sweater. I know this probably doesn't mean a lot because you're not making this mittens right now, but let me see if I can. One of the how do I say this, components of the mittens is the cuff. And let me show you on this pair.
Yeah, I just want to say we should officially wrap up in a couple minutes, but if I can get a sense from people if they'd like to do a mitten making workshop, that would be great, and we could definitely set that up.
Oh, that would, so the cuffs are obviously the cuff of the mitten, or pardon me, the cuff of the sweater, and unfortunately each sweater only comes with 2 cuffs. So Whoever thought of that? I don't know. So once you've used the 2 cuffs, that sweater's cuff usefulness has been depleted. And I've had luck using the some sweaters have nice what do you call the bottom part of the sweater? Help me out here. Is there a name for that? That sometimes like
The band, the waistband or
The
something.
hem.
Yeah.
Here's a good example. So this sweater has nice cuffs, and then on the bottom, it has a nice
Ribbing?
similar.
No.
So
Stockinette
you can
stitch.
sometimes make this work like the cuff. Okay, so so usually you can get a couple pairs of mittens out of one nice wool sweater.
You could also. Well,
Go
you could
ahead.
also knit some cuffs and add them.
If you knew how to knit.
Yeah, I've made knits quite a bit. Yeah,
I think Carol knows how to knit.
I do.
Here, I have tried so many times to knit, Carol, and for whatever reason, it's never happened for me. But yeah, you could, and you definitely could do that if you could, if
Just
you knew how.
attach them. Yeah.
So yeah, so there, I had well, I won't show you now. I had some components cut out like I did with the other things to show you, but that might be, if people are interested, Tina, that would be really great.
Yeah, do you want just quick show of hands? Would people be interested in a mitten making workshop? Would be something people might be up for? Okay, and then you could tell us what to bring, right?
Yeah, so that's definitely, I can tell you now, or as people sign up, I can send a list of things that you would need.
Well, I don't know. So it's up to people who are on this call. We have a few of us left. Do people want, you're certainly free to go. It's 7:30. Or would you like to see some of the mitten pieces that she did so you can kind of get a preview of the mitten workshop, what it would involve?
Do you have a few minutes, or do people need to go?
I gotta go. I haven't had any dinner.
Oh my goodness, you go eat your
Yeah.
dinner, Carol.
So thank you
good
very
to-
much. This was very interesting, and good luck to everybody.
Yeah, with your projects, right?
Okay, enjoy the holidays as much as you can.
Yeah, and thank you for your
Absolutely.
suggestions for the gift wrapping.
Well,
Right.
I'm a waste minimizer, and I'm trying to teach my grandchildren all about that. So
Yeah, it's so important.
Absolutely. And just to let people know, don't throw away even your rags and whatnot. Don't throw them into the garbage. I know Bethlehem has a fabrics recycling program. Albany's going to start one. And basically, if you just put them maybe in a bag that says rags and put them into any of the donation bins, like the one outside the co-op, they have a value and they will sort them out. They'll sort out the good stuff that they can give to people and reuse from the rags, and they use the rags to make other things.
Wow, that's so
Yeah.
good to know.
Dan
And
Rand said that. He, the recycling coordinator of Bethlehem, he said, don't ever throw it into the landfill. You can put them in those bins.
yeah, he's good.
so that it gives me a chance to plug one of my favorite places. Are you familiar with Upstitch? Do you know the
Where's
art room? The art room on New Scotland Avenue?
The
Well,
Albany Art Room.
Yeah, the Albany Art Room. Inside the art room is Upstitch, and they take donations of fabric, crafting supplies, and they'll resell them. Or actually, they gave me this, so I was like, yay! Heavy yard of fabric, I can make a bag. So so that's a really nice organization that's trying to keep stuff out of the landfill. And then Tina knows my friend Lynn Jackson, and I think Carol, you know Lynn
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And Linda, you probably know Lynn too. So, but Lynn called me just before we started from another friend's house who's also involved with Save the Pine Bush, and his wife works for Old Brick, and she scavenges the trash there for upholstery samples. So I have a feeling there's a box up on my porch right now of upholstery samples that, and she sent me pictures. She's, how much do you want? I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
So, there's way too few of us trying to keep it out of the landfill, but the more people who can come up with ideas for this stuff, and which is important, but as Tina will tell you, the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yes,
Reduce.
Can we throw rot in for composting?
Right, right.
Or-
But reduce is number one.
Yes,
Well,
Yeah.
also right now we have a terrible blight with all the people going out and picking up food in reusable,
Oh my God,
containers.
Carol.
What I'm trying to do is if I'm going to go get food is I go into the restaurant and I tell them I want my food on a plate. And then I bring my own container in and I take it from the plate and put it in my own container.
Because they can't put it in the,
They can't do that. But I try to do that. And I say, just give me a plate of food and I will put it in.
wow.
that's a good way around
That's
that.
great.
Yeah.
Where have you done that?
Well, I've tried it at the Four Corners Luncheonette. And I prepare most of my own food.
Right, right.
For that reason is because I can't stand this way we're doing it. But I mean, it's worth trying. And what you can say is, I really can't take your food unless you let me do that. I mean, it's, and as far as, I don't think that violates. I used to do it when I went into the restaurants before they give you too much food. And so I would have a container, I put half the food in the container right away so I don't eat it. And instead of taking the container from the restaurant.
Very smart.
If we
Well,
ever get back to doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been, we were so close with the bags.
Oh, yeah.
We were so close with, the takeout containers, and we were just there. I mean, we could taste it.
Yeah.
And then the stupid pandemic hit. And part of the problem is, as Carol said, the takeout, but people are so afraid now and they want to sanitize everything and they want everything to be throwaway because that's cleaner. And, it's,
Yeah.
I don't know how to even process all that.
Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
the plastic bag ban got back in place.
Yeah.
It did. Yes,
Yeah.
it did. Just
You
got
know,
reinforced.
Judith-
There was a court case for that. So we
You
had to
guys-
overcome the court case.
You know Judith Enck, right?
Yeah, she just
Yeah.
sent out an email today.
She's doing a course on plastic.
Yeah, that
Yes.
just came today, right, Carol?
I'm signed up for that. Well,
Oh, good for you.
You can sign up for it now.
Yes, yes. If anyone's interested, certainly send me an email if you don't know about that course, and I'll send you the information to register.
I'm
It's
going to
a-
audit it.
I think it's 6 sessions. It's called
7.
Beyond Plastic.
Beyond
Session.
plastics, yeah.
It's 7 sessions. They had to change that. It's 7.
And you do learn a lot. It does cost $100 to audit, as opposed to taking it for credit, which is a lot more. And it's out of Bennington College.
And she's offered this in the past as well.
Yes, people have raved about it.
But
So-
she also has, if you can't or for whatever reason don't want to take the class, there's also, she's always, if you get on her email list, she also always has, here's the 10 tips to skip the plastic, reduce waste, and give green. So just our topic today. And when this came in the email today, I was like, oh my goodness, what good timing. So, so that's something nice to keep in mind also.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Claire. I want to let people go. This was wonderful. And it was
Yeah,
fun
thank you.
sharing.
Oh, it's
It was
great
like,
to meet it.
we were in your kitchen.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Claire.
Oh,
And,
thank you,
we can look
everyone.
at-
Thank
We
you.
can definitely look at
Everybody
mitten making.
Stay
Thank you.
well.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
everyone. Bye.